On, Mike.
We're getting a very visceral response this morning to a call that was made to Peter Cardwell's show yesterday on Talk, because not only have we got the energy price going up once since the Labour Party have been in government, it's now gone up again today. And, of course, it wouldn't be such a big deal if it wasn't for the fact that they swore blind that they wouldn't put it up and they would cap it altogether. But have a listen, first of all, to Teresa, who's an old-age pensioner, calling in to Talk yesterday.
I can't afford to put my heating
Have you
on.
not your heating on today, Teresa?
No, not at all.
Goodness me. Goodness me.
I'm living in one room with a little heater. How are these people going to manage? Do they really want us all dead? Because even with the fuel allowance, it's not enough to keep you warm all year. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Teresa, I am so sorry that you have to make these choices. I'm so sorry.
I know, but it's about time they woke up and realised. I mean, I worked for 47 years. I wish I'd never.
I'm shocked by that. I think it's awful. Absolutely makes you feel ashamed to be part of this country, doesn't it, Kevin?
It's absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? That could be anyone's mother, grandmother.
Yeah.
It could be us in years to come.
It could.
It's horrible.
But you know what it is? It's also the reality of the policies of this government. And I know that I'm not going to argue about the government that went before. It doesn't really matter. We are where we are. You know, the government currently said before the election that they would freeze energy prices, that they would not put energy prices up. Since then, Ofgem have put energy prices up twice, and they've just gone up again today to £1,738 from January the 1st. And here's what Ed Miliband had to say. He's got the gall and the balls, quite frankly, to put this out. The rise in the energy price cap will cause concern for families struggling with the cost of living. That is why the government will do all we can to help people. Really? Here's what he said before the election.
We set that out for 2030. It was an independent set of modelling that said that bills could go down by up to £300. And what's important, Susanna, is that the report I referred to last week from the energy system operator confirms that not only is our target achievable, but it will lead to lower costs of electricity.
So in 6 years' time, our bills will go down by £300. How much are they going to have gone up by that point?
That's actually what he said while he was at COP29. It's not what he said before the election. But he was still basically hanging on for grim death to this ridiculous promise that we were going to save £300. It went from £300 a year to £300 sometime over the next 5 years. It's now gone to £300 that you might save by sort of 10 years from now. But the point is this. We've got clip after clip after clip we've been playing this morning, Kevin, of Keir Starmer saying that they were going to reduce prices, they were going to keep them down, they were going to make sure people had energy security. None of that's true, and as a result we've got people like Teresa who's scared to put on her own electricity. I mean, she even gets she still gets the winter fuel allowance, but she's too frightened to use it because she doesn't know how much more it's going to cost.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing to remember is that the winter fuel allowance hasn't actually gone up in cash terms since it was first announced under the last Labour government. So, you know, in real terms, it has actually gone down quite considerably because bills have gone up a lot, obviously, since then. Yeah, I mean, Labour had already started to water down this pledge about lowering energy bills before the election. They started off, I think, maybe a year or two ago saying, yeah, we will cut your bills by £300. Then, if you listen very carefully to what Ed Miliband said there, it was they could go down based on an independent assessment by someone else. They could go down by £300 by 2030. So already there, it's a little...
Yeah, but the conversation started with they will go down. You know, that's how it started, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So now they're already watering it down, trying to make out, well, you know, we're not pledging to definitely bring it down. And I thought that the question he was asked there was very pertinent. How much will they have gone up by the time they come down, if they do come down? Because there's no point in them coming down by £300 if they've gone up by £1,000. You know, you're still going to be out of pocket. And the problem that Labour have got is that now, like all the other pledges that they made, they're now the ones in charge. they can't blame the Tories, and know that they still do blame the Tories, but I think that is now run out of road.
Yeah, that's a busted flush. I mean, I watched Question Time last night, and you know Question Time is, generally speaking, pretty friendly to Labour. They had a Labour minister on, and he was getting a hell of a shellacking from the audience, not just over energy, but over the fact that, you know, Labour seems to be going after every ordinary working member of society. You know, unless you work in the public sector, they're coming for you, and that's the way it looks.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of public anger out there. There was already anger before the election. That's why we saw the result that we did, and the Tories got it in spades on July the 4th. But, you know, people are still very angry. They expected change by now. I know it's only been 4 months, but people want change and their lives to be improved very quickly indeed. There's very little patience now with whoever's in charge, and that's why Labour are in quite a lot of bother now.
Yeah, but I mean, people didn't like the Tories for all sorts of reasons, and they wanted to get rid of them, probably quite rightly, because they'd become kind of a useless organisation. They'd sort of been hollowed out by their own hand, and they just didn't really seem to work anymore. But what they weren't was a kind of malevolent force against the people, whereas people are now saying that that's exactly what Labour has become, and the Labour government under Keir Starmer is more unpopular now than it's ever been. He's the most unpopular Prime Minister that has ever lived. Elon Musk apparently is now more popular in this country than Keir Starmer is, according to a poll the other day. And everybody he's attacking is now looking at him and saying, why are you doing it? Why are you attacking farmers? Why are you attacking pensioners? Why are you attacking hard-working parents who want to send their kids to private school? You know, why are you going after companies and saying they need to pay more tax? People are absolutely turning on Labour in a way that I've never seen.
No, they are, and I think the seeds for this were sown before the election when they said that all the plans in the manifesto were fully costed. They wouldn't have to...
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
By more than they said in the manifesto. Well, here we are, you know, 3 months after that, we had the budget in which they're putting up taxes by £40 billion. So I think that is why people are very angry. And I know Labour make the case that they're just trying to repair the damage. But I just don't think people are listening to that right now. People don't care about what the mess was that Labour inherited. They want to know what Labour are going to do now to make their lives better rather than putting up their taxes.
Well, exactly right. And as if to make matters worse than that, we've got the front page of the Times today saying Vladimir Putin reckons that UK is now a legitimate target because we've been using, Ukraine has been using British-made Storm Shadow missiles to fire into Russia. And meanwhile, he's not sure whether if Benjamin Netanyahu comes to Britain, he's not going to have him arrested.
Yeah, I mean, they were dancing on the head of a pin yesterday, the Prime Minister's spokesman, when he was being asked about this yesterday afternoon, about the ICC. First of all, do they support what the ICC has done? Right. They said, well, they support the independence of the International Criminal Court.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
And then they were asked, well, if Benjamin Netanyahu decides to have his holidays in Brighton this year, will he be arrested? And they say, well, that's a hypothetical, you know, we don't want to get into that. So they're trying to sort of talk out of both sides of their mouths at the same time, rather than, you know, taking a solid position. I think they want to indicate that they support this arrest warrant, but at the same time don't want to say they would arrest them.
Yeah.
You can't do both.
But you can't do both. I mean, why can't they just make a decision, right? I mean, I think it would be wrong for them to say that they would arrest him, but at least I'd prefer that, at least rather than this kind of halfway house where they go, well, you know, we can't really say if we'd arrest him, we're not really sure, we'd have to take counsel on it. You know, Keir Starmer is fast becoming now the most indecisive man that ever walked the earth, and certainly the most indecisive man that's ever been in Downing Street, because he could also go the other way and say, actually, no, we support Benjamin Netanyahu in what he's doing. He's trying to kill off Hamas, a ghastly organised terrorist organisation prescribed as such by our government, and we wish him all the best. That's what he should say.
Well, that's what the White House has said. That's what Joe Biden has said, and that's what the very strong position of America is. I don't see that changing under Donald Trump, for instance. Whereas, the problem is if you try to ride two horses at the one time, you're eventually going to fall off. You know, you can't basically sit on the fence, especially on matters as grave as this one. But I've heard Yvette Cooper out this morning as well being interviewed, and again she's sticking to this line of, well, on the one hand this, on the other hand that. You know,
ridiculous.
It's important.
It's embarrassing, really embarrassing.